Hi, Irvington artists. Today's story time is going to be a little bit different. Instead of reading a storybook or a picture book with you, I wanted to spotlight one artist from this book called Women in Art 50 Fearless Creatives Who Inspired the World. So instead of me turning a bunch of pages, I'm only going to be reading off of this page. We're going to be learning about artist Thelma Johnson Streat, who is actually an artist who grew up here in Portland. One cool thing about her is that she was not only a painter, but she was also a dancer and even an educator. Later in her career, she actually opened up a school in Honolulu with her husband to promote racial equality through art education. So she is a fascinating woman. We're going to learn more about her and see some more of her artwork. Thelma Johnson Streat was born in Washington State and grew up in Portland, Oregon. After studying at the University of Oregon in the mid-1930s, she traveled America. She spent time in New York, Chicago, and San Francisco, where she began working on large-scale murals for the Works Progress Administration. Through this work, she befriended Mexican muralist Diego Rivera, who is actually married to Frida Kahlo, fun fact, and assisted on his Pan American Unity mural in 1939. She was one of the few people he allowed to actually paint on his mural. In 1940, Diego wrote Thelma a letter of introduction to galleries in which he praised her work as extremely evolved and sophisticated enough to reconquer the grace and purity of African and Indian American art. This letter led to the acceptance of her painting Death of a Black Sailor in 1943 to be displayed in a Los Angeles gallery. After World War II, African American veterans who had risked their lives defending the United States were coming home to a country that still denied them basic civil rights. Thelma's painting pointed out this hypocrisy while honoring the men who had been lost. The Ku Klux Klan, a violent white supremacist group, did not like Thelma's sailor painting and threatened her and the gallery. Thelma would not be intimidated. Both she and the gallery refused to take down her painting, and it proudly remained on display for the rest of the exhibition. Thelma often worked with themes of African American history, but she also created many abstract paintings inspired by her travels throughout Europe, Mexico, Haiti, and Hawaii. Her other passion beside painting was dance. Thelma was one of the first artists to incorporate dancing into her gallery presentations by performing rhythmic interpretations in front of her paintings. In 1947, Thelma became one of the few African American abstract artists to have a solo art show in New York. In 1959, Thelma's career was sadly cut short when she died of a heart attack at the age of 47. For almost 60 years, her artwork was mostly forgotten, but was returned to the forefront in 2016, just 4 years ago, when her painting Medicine and Transportation went on display as part of the permanent collection in the Smithsonian Museum. Thelma Johnson Streat is now celebrated, as she was during her lifetime, as a great artist and activist. I hope you enjoyed learning about Thelma with me. I think it's incredible that she was from here, from Portland, Oregon, and she made history as the first female African American artist to have her artwork collected by the Museum of Modern Art. It's one of the biggest museums in our country. Now, I noticed in her artwork that we do see a lot of figures or people painted usually pretty abstractly, but they're also posed in really interesting ways. And I think that is probably because of her lifelong passion of dance. So a lot of the figures in her artwork are usually posed like dancers. So for this art project, I thought it would be fun if we talked about gesture drawing, which is learning how to draw humans in a way that shows movement rather than just kind of having them still and stiff like a statue or a stick figure. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. When you make a gesture drawing, you want to draw fast. It shouldn't take you more than a minute or two for each gesture drawing, so don't worry about getting your lines just right. It's supposed to look kind of messy. Have someone in your house do a few poses for you. The more poses you can practice with, the better. So I had my husband do a few yoga poses while I drew him. And it's better if you spend more time looking at the person you're drawing than looking at your paper. And again, don't get caught up on details like what their face looks like or the clothes that they're wearing. It's supposed to be a quick thing. The more practice you get, the better it's going to turn out. When you're done, you could choose one of your favorite gesture poses and turn it into a different artwork. What I did here is I was inspired by one of the photos I saw of Thelma and in one of her dance poses, and I just decided to do a gesture pose based on the photo I saw of her. Happy art making! I can't wait to see what you make.